LeBron James, I Promise School, is facing backlash after reported that all the 8th graders in the 8th grade class did not pass the math STAR test, and it was reported that they have not passed a STAR test in over 3 years. The LeBron Foundation and Akron Public Schools systems opened the I Promise School to help students who are at risk of falling behind in school and in life. They had also opened buildings for the kids to stay in, but in the past it was figured out that they haven't passed a 8th grade math test. None of them did, and they haven't passed a STAR test in over 3 years. So this started off in 2018. Obviously with 2020 there was COVID, so they didn't end up having a STAR test or whatever type of state test that they have in Ohio. But when 8th grade finally rolled back around and it was time for them to take the test, it was reported that zero students from the whole 8th grade class did not pass the STAR test. Like I said, the goal of LeBron James's I Promise School is to help kids who are at risk of falling behind in school. And the poverty rate of Akron, Ohio is about a third. A third of people in Akron, Ohio are poor. So that can cause a risk of kids falling behind because they don't have anything. They can't support themselves. It's all about life first. So if they can't support themselves, it's going to be hard for them to more focus in school. Also, it is reported that kids staying in the suburbs actually do better in school versus kids that are not in the suburbs. They're in a poor environment. So also keep that in mind. And it was just a shame. Like they was trying to put everything on LeBron. And here's my opinion on it. LeBron James's foundation, first off, you got to thank him for opening the I Promise School. You got to thank him for that, because he didn't have to do that with his own money. He opened a whole school for kids that are at risk, whether it's disciplinary risk or just kids that just can't get the right education because you just never know what's been going on at home. I feel like LeBron James, and it's crazy too, because if you're famous, everything that you do can have some sort of bad consequence. Just a little thing that you do, it can have some sort of consequence. So since it's LeBron James, as he funded the I Promise School and his name is behind it because of the history, it's the LeBron James's foundation. They were the one that funded the school. They're trying to put everything on LeBron. Like, LeBron ain't the teacher. LeBron is not the teacher. All he does in his foundation, all they do is fund the school. You have to fault the parents. You got to fault the school system. You got to fault the teachers there. LeBron doesn't pick the teachers that are there. LeBron doesn't pick who's on the student board, the teacher board of public schools for the whole district. He doesn't pick none of that. He's not the one that teaches these kids basic math, science, reading. So the fact that they haven't passed a math test since the third grade, it's been over 3 years. Obviously, mind you, they didn't have STAR tests or any state tests. I say STAR tests because, simple fact, I'm living in Texas, and in Texas we have a state test called the STAR test. So I'm calling it the STAR test. But the fact that it's been over 3 years since they haven't passed, what are the teachers really teaching them? It starts off with the teacher. The teachers aren't teaching them basic things. And these are elementary school type of situations, subjects that you need in this real world. Some things in high school you don't need, but your basics, like in elementary, all of that you need. You need your math, you need your reading, you need your history, you need your science. And the fact that they didn't pass the math state test, all the 8th graders, it really opens your eyes and it questions you, like, what were they doing these years behind? Because obviously, since COVID happened, everyone was online. You could really get away with a whole lot of things. There wasn't too much of strict rules that were enforced. Everything was lenient because everybody was transitioning from face-to-face to online. So not only were teachers trying to learn it, but students too. So they had to give everybody some leeway on how to use the online type of schooling. But that doesn't give you no excuse to learn how to teach someone basic skills in any subject. So the fact that maybe they were being too lenient and they just wasn't even caring to the point to where 0 8th grade students pass the math STAR test, that really is a red eye, not only for everybody in this world, but it should be for your parents. The parents there should be at fault, but at the same time, you don't know what they were going through in life. Maybe they could have been there every single day. The kid could have been at the I Promise school every single day for attendance. And the fact that they could have came home and been like, they didn't really learn anything. Hence why no one passed it. I'm pretty sure there were kids there, even though they were at risk, I feel like, subject-wise, from falling back behind in grades, not necessarily attendance. Even though, like I said, the poverty rate is about a third at 27.16% in Akron, Ohio, still, I feel like there's going to be some kids in that class. Not everyone's going to be poor. So some of them are going to go to the school most of the time. Sometimes even perfect attendance. And the fact that they all came back with 0 passing scores. Let me tell you, like, when I took the state test, there was probably about like 70, 80% that actually passed the test. And then there was probably like a small 20%, because, you know, Texas is a big state. There's probably about a small 20% that didn't pass the STAR test. And that's not even a lot of people compared to how many people are in the state of Texas. So 80% is actually pretty good. So the fact that 0% at one school didn't pass the test, the math test, it opens a red eye, because a red flag. Like, what are the teachers doing? Are the teachers really teaching, or they're not caring? Because I'll tell you, there are teachers out here that don't care about what they do. They'll just try and get the bag and leave as teachers. They don't do no teaching. They don't do no one-on-one time with the kids. They don't even let them do anything. They just let them just sit there while they talk, and then after that it's just over. Like, they don't really do no teaching. And some kids at the school, they may need that one-on-one time to actually learn something, learn a subject, learn a topic within that subject that they don't get. And maybe they're not getting that. So then as a parent, you got to go to the board and be like, hey, something is going on here. My teacher is not teaching my son or my daughter the needs that she needs, the subjects that she needs in order to pass the test. So then they'll do their investigation on the teachers, and something will happen there. So you have to fault the teachers, then you have to fault the board. And I'll say the parents last, because you got to have some parents that actually take their kids to school. I'm pretty sure most of them that were at that I Promise school, especially since they didn't build buildings for the kids to stay in, I'm pretty sure they go to the school most of the time. I'm saying most of the time at that school. Maybe in another school in Akron or any school in Ohio, it's different. But since it's LeBron James' I Promise school and he built those 2 facilities to help the kids at risk, I'm pretty sure they go to that school every single day. Plus, have you seen how big that school is? That school is big as hell. Big as hell. Who wouldn't want to go there? I know I would. But the point that I'm trying to make is, LeBron should not be faulted for a situation that he has no control over. And that's how it has been with a lot of these celebrities out here. You can get faulted just for having your name tied towards something. LeBron only funds the school. He has nothing to do with how teachers are going to teach the kids. He has nothing to do on what the students do. He has nothing to do with the board of Akron public schools, public systems. He has no control over that. They can be corrupt. But since his name is tied towards the I Promise school, and then on top of that, the name of the school is I Promise, it gives him that issue that he is now a part of because his name is tied to it. Just because your name is tied to something, that don't mean that you should always just face backlash as a celebrity. And that's the thing. They'll try and get some money out of you, which we'll get to in another topic here in a little bit. But like I said, LeBron James should not be faulted for this. There are so many teachers out here, especially if they're underpaid, that will only work for the amount of pay that they're getting. Not saying that they're corrupt, but if they're not getting paid enough, it's going to be hard for them. It's hard for some teachers to actually care about their students. It's only a few that actually really, really care about the student. Then you got to go to the board. The board can control all of that. They can do their investigation. They're only doing this investigation now because of the simple fact that LeBron is a part of it. And if they haven't passed in 3 years, that first year you should have been like, why have they not passed? Why have they not passed the state test? It should not have taken 3 years for them to actually put some motion towards solving the problem. Set a plan in action. So I feel like those teachers got to be gone. Whoever was teaching that math class, 8th grade, they have to be gone. Because there's no way that you allow 0 8th graders to not pass a simple test. There's no way possible. And the fact that you did is just like, are you really teaching? That goes for all the teachers there. It gives the board now a third eye. Like, are they seriously not teaching these kids? Because just because it happened in math, that doesn't mean it didn't happen in English. That doesn't mean that it didn't happen in history. They got to now look at the percentage of all the other subjects. Maybe those subjects were lower. Because they're not going to just have one subject where 0 kids pass and then another subject where just everybody passes. Like, because not everyone's favorite subject or is one of the subjects, and not everyone is going to be good at the same subjects. But there's no way, even though that you're not good at a subject, that everyone doesn't pass your test, the state test. That goes 100% on the teachers. That goes 100% on the teachers. So like I said, you can't fault LeBron. It's just the fact that his name is tied to it, which is so messed up. Because he has no control over it. So he's going to face backlash. His foundation, all they do is fund the school. LeBron James, last time I checked, he makes millions of dollars. Probably way more in a day. Like millions. He makes millions in a day. He makes millions off of endorsements. He makes millions off of his basketball career. Has a game show. Like, he's making money every single day. So I'm pretty sure most of it he's going to fund to the school. And that's all he's doing. He doesn't pick the teachers. Like I said, he doesn't pick the board. You got to blame those people first. You got to start off there. Then start off with the parent. And then maybe you could go to LeBron. But LeBron doesn't have no fault in this whatsoever. He'll maybe go up to the school now that he has found out about it and probably talk to everybody on their own time discreetly. It won't be nothing public. It'll just be something of importance so that way this doesn't happen again. So that's the goal of it. just never to have this happen again. Because the fact that they didn't pass in 3 years, you never know what could even happen next year. So they got to be on their P's and Q's before you can blame LeBron for that situation. Let's move on to another subject.